Hey everybody, welcome back to Michael Clarda Arts. It is, of course, time for a warm-up. Welcome to the studio. This morning we're going to be continuing in this vein of cartoons. Of course, in the month of March we will be doing a myriad of different characters as our warm-up drawings. So this morning, just because I did the Chippendale Rescue Rangers yesterday, we are going to do one of my favorite animated series from the 90s, late 80s, like 89, progressing through 94, 95, Disney animation, which is DuckTales. So, let's get started. Okay, so here we are on my standing drawing desk working digitally today. I will transition back to traditional just because I like having a tangible drawing in my hand, and there's nothing wrong with digital, but I would have to print these out, and sometimes whenever you go to a printing service and you print stuff like this out, it is a licensed character and they don't like doing stuff like that, so you might run into some issues. But doing stuff traditionally is kind of my jam anyway, so I'll probably transition back over to that. Yesterday we did characters, like I mentioned in the intro, from Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Had to sing that. And today we're going to be doing stuff from DuckTales. Ooh. So those songs stick in my head. Now, I was not young enough, really, I guess whenever this was in development in 89, and then it kind of really came into fruition in the 90s. I was in high school, so I loved Disney stuff, but I didn't really grasp the awesomeness of this particular program until I was a little bit older and in the art field. And yeah, DuckTales is wonderful. Not only by their catchy jingle, but their storyline, the adventures that they took, and utilizing one of the characters that really, I was actually surprised that they did use this character, because he's kind of a curmudgeon-y turd. Now, he did end up changing his life. Of course, I am talking about Scrooge McDuck, based upon the character from A Christmas Carol, Scrooge. And I was really surprised at the time. I'm like, why are they using Scrooge? But he's kind of like the financier, even though he does have sort of an attitude. I mean, what duck related to Donald does not? And they kind of changed Donald's character quite a bit, because Scrooge is really smart whenever it comes to money, and of course, Donald being super emotional, Donald became kind of the comic relief, which is interesting in this whole thing. And then you've got Launchpad, again, a duck. So we're probably going to do one of the nephews, Launchpad and Scrooge, because you got to do Scrooge. I had somebody on my channel comment, they're like, you did Donald, you got to do Scrooge McDuck. And I'm like, I don't have to do anything you tell me. But I do like me some DuckTales, so that's why we're doing it this morning, of course. And it comes around. You see, I did this nice round circle, and that gives me a base to create the head of Scrooge, and from there, that'll be my anchor point to do the rest of the character. You guys know that's how I work. If this is the first time that you've been to my channel, welcome. Welcome, welcome. I am, of course, doing artwork related to cartoons. I love cartoons. Cartoons have always sort of been traditionally for adult, or for people, but for kids. But in the old days, they were kind of the beginning of the movies you watched. You had the shorts, or they would be at the end. If you don't know why they're called trailers, they used to be at the end of the movie and not at the beginning. And then, of course, distributors and studios got wise and realized it'd be much better if you put them at the beginning, as people typically need to leave after the movie's over. So that's really why we started putting him at the end. So yeah, Scrooge McDuck, what a character. Kind of a hard, so hard with regards to who he is as a character and as I wanted to say a person, but he's not a person. Just hard, and eventually, of course, he became a big softie. But he definitely has some tude. What duck does not that's related, like I said, to Donald? I like putting things in just very quickly and soft because it gives me, like I said, those anchor points to reference as I do the rest of the character. And I do like me some Scrooge. He's Scottish, which is interesting for sure. I don't remember the character in A Christmas Carol being Scottish, but what do I know? So, always something fun to watch during the holidays because it's a redemption story, obviously. Somebody that was broken, and eventually, through a reflection of his own life, becomes something more. And I think that in and of itself is just a wonderful story to tell. Here's his arm. Let's go ahead and draw his arm in really quick. Scrooge, of course, has a cane. Not really sure why he needs this. He's more than capable. But I'm sure it has to do with his properness. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. As you look at him, he's got this scraggliness around his head. And then he's got his outfit, which is kind of Victorian. And of course, they changed up his outfit in the show. But wearing like a waistcoat and stuff, and let's go ahead and do this. I'll draw this. This is just a simple shape. And then we'll come back over and we'll draw another simple shape. It kind of represents his other hand. You don't have to go in and do all the things yet. I'm still working out the base of the drawing. I like to get pretty much everything in, and then I go back and I inject detail. And that is obviously something that I've learned from experience. You don't want to get too far in and then suddenly realize your anatomy is off, or your placement of certain items is completely wrong as it pertains to the character design. You want to make sure and flesh those items out first. Yeah. Here. Okay, this is wrong. Goes here. Up big. Kind of wraps around like that and comes to the back of his head, and then his head right there. Yeah. You get to see a little bit of the under part of his hat. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit wider. And of course, this kind of comes around in the back and goes there. Just got this eyebrow that comes here. Again. And then we've got that head, hat, wearing a top hat. So I was going through town, I think it was yesterday, and we live up here in the mountains, and there's not too many things that we see, first of all, in terms of ethnic diversity. Unfortunately, this particular part of the area does not have a lot of ethnic diversity. Now, we're about 2 hours away from Atlanta, and of course if you go to Atlanta, there's a huge amount of ethnic diversity, which I love, because I love different cultures. I love seeing different humans, different human types, and you get to experience a lot of the culture nuances. I mean, in Orlando, when I was there, that is a cultural kind of a melting pot. And you had a lot of cultures, which was awesome. But whenever you come here, we don't have that so much, unfortunately. And you don't see a lot of things that you would normally see, I would say, in a city area. And sometimes it kind of grates on me a little bit, because you have very closed-minded people that move up here, and they are obviously set in their ways, which, I mean, it is a quasi-free country. You can think how you want to. However, I was going into town, and I passed by a guy in a I think it was a Mercedes-Benz or a Tesla. It might have been a Tesla. And he was wearing a full-out top hat. Like Victorian top hat. And I'm like, yeah, you rock that Victorian hat, bro. I just love seeing stuff like that. I even was like, how can I work that guy into some type of drawing of the week? That would be awesome. So I might do that. People I see up here in the Appalachian Mountains that typically would not see otherwise. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm trying to work out some of these anatomical issues. Going down, we're going to come around, and it kind of juts out just a skosh right there. Yeah, right there. Okay. So now let's work on his legs. Let's get those anchor points. You see I've drawn just an indication of those. Okay, and then this one comes right here. Here's his heel. Okay. Sometimes it's okay to draw just the shape, right? Just to get things ironed out, and it's okay to do that. And then I'll come back, and here's the bottom of his, that comes down just a little bit further, and then he's got his waistcoat right here, and then this comes around right there. It comes like that, and that leg comes here. Like that. And you notice what I'll do is I'll go, once I've drawn that in, I'll check the entire figure just briefly. Photoshop does have a feature where you can put a little window up here that has the entire, actually, let me see if I can do that. I usually don't use it. Clone source, no. I don't remember what it's called because I haven't used it in so long. Navigator? Yeah, there it is. Okay. Panel. Oh, okay, we can make it bigger. So you make it bigger. Oops. Panel options. It's the navigator. And basically you can have this, and it gives you an opportunity to check your size of your figure continually. And believe it or not, it helps out a lot. Okay. And then he's got these foot coverings. Instead of wearing full-out shoes, these little foot coverings. And I've got this cane that comes here. Here's the spot where the cane lands. And then we'll come here. Let's go ahead and draw the waistcoat that comes down. I think it's a little far back. And that comes here. Here. And we've got this arm right here. Let's get this arm. Wrinkles. So wrinkles can sometimes be challenging for people. My philosophy is you have to really think in terms of what you've experienced. So whenever your arm folds, you can even look at your finger. Whenever it folds, you have a darkening of the creases at the point of the joint. And then whenever you push, you can see the skin bulges out. That form bulges. So that's what's happening right here. And once you kind of get a handle on that concept, you can draw wrinkles no problem. Let's go and do this. Good. And then we've got his wrist that comes up and then immediately goes down. His hand kind of goes like this. And then okay. Here. This hand will be mostly covered up by the other one. We're going to go and shade this in because I feel like we've got some tangencies happen right there. We're going to go ahead and do this. Again, to improve that silhouette. Silhouette's important because it signifies at a distance, at a quick read, what exactly is going on. You don't want to have too many overlapping forms as it pertains to the character design because then it'll be confusing and hard to see. One really good example of a good silhouette, if you've noticed, and this is something that, of course, I noticed because I think silhouette quite a bit, does have to do with Indiana Jones. If you look, Indiana Jones has a very recognizable silhouette with his hat. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. And the second you see that, you're like, oh, Indiana Jones. And that is by design. I think in the movie where he was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, at one point his silhouette, it was a shadow, and you're like, oh, Indiana Jones, he's back. And that was epic. That was an epic moment for me because I know there were talks about that moment. There's storyboards, right? Whoever storyboarded that was like, gotta have a silhouette. And of course, Mr. Steven Spielberg, I believe, directed The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. I think he did. It wasn't the best one, don't get me wrong. Don't think that I love that movie and it's the bee's knees or anything. I need to make sure. Okay, that looks good. But I do like the nuance. I'm a nuance guy. I do like things that are right in your face, but nuance is always something I look forward to. Case in point, so I was watching the newest Predator Badlands movie, which if you haven't seen it, you need to. It is absolutely phenomenal. And you see some really cool Easter eggs in there, which I thought were really awesome. Wayland, who was the creator of the robots in Alien, the Alien franchise, Wayland, the Wayland Corporation. And then whenever they combined the two, so you had Predator versus Alien, and you had actually Wayland, the character, searching out things and trying to find the source of some of the legends that he had heard about and whatnot, and the technology, and he wanted to get his hands on that to develop weapons. Anyway, so you're going through in the Predator movie, and you see that obviously the androids are made by Wayland Corporation, and then you have Mother, who is the AI, who kind of runs the show, per se, and Mother was the name of the AI in the original 1970s Alien movie. So, yeah, they've kind of combined these two franchises into a powerhouse entertainment entity, and it is just awesome. You really need to watch it. I believe it's on Hulu currently, and it is really good. Just action-packed. I only heard one curse word. If you're not into a bunch of cursing in movies, some people like a lot of cursing. I'm not a huge cursing guy. I think there's more eloquent ways of conveying things than cursing. But, I mean, that's up to you. You can curse whatever you want. No judgment. But there's only one curse word in the entire movie. And in terms of blood and guts, it's a lot of it has to do with the creatures. And, yeah, it was just really good, guys. I mean, yeah, definitely check it out. And let's go ahead. Here is Scrooge McDuck. Let's go ahead and do a little eye shine here. Okay. Didn't turn out too bad. I'm not really satisfied with that. Waistcoat. Body. Simple ground plane. Just like I had noticed before. Sometimes that makes a hint of a difference. Yeah, DuckTales. That's one of the things that I remember is the fact that it's got such a catchy theme song. Whatever happened to the theme songs? They used to do theme songs all the time. Dun, 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 dun. I was thinking the other day, because I was watching the He-Man preview. New He-Man coming out. Live action, looks awesome. Gonna go see it, because I was a He-Man guy. I had some He-Mans. I didn't have a ton of He-Mans, because I was kind of at the area where I was like, I don't know if I should be playing with toys anymore. Because I think He-Man was early 80s. Like 83, 84, 85, somewhere around there. And I was like, He-Man's cool, but video games. And that's when video games kind of came out and started ruling the world. And then I, of course, started driving. Late 80s. And then it was all about the car. Yay, car. Car gotta go fast. Blah, blah, blah. Gotta be awesome. Gotta have a good stereo. I don't play with toys anymore. Man, I was... Oh well. We live and learn. Okay, so here is Scrooged McDuck. Let's go ahead and sign it. MC 26. And we'll transform him right to there. Yeah. Let's go ahead and put this over here for now. And we'll start on Launchpad. Okay, on to Launchpad. McQuack. What a fun name. McQuack. So, yeah, there was a re-release. Not a re-release. It wasn't even a re-release. It was a reboot of the franchise in 2017. And the voice of Scrooge was David Tennant. Doctor Who. Doctor Who? Yeah, so That's fun. I remember my daughter saw it, and she's like, because she's a huge Doctor Who fan, and she's like, Dad, they're rebooting DuckTales, and the Scrooge is going to be David Tennant. And I'm like, what? Of course, David Tennant, I believe, is Scottish, isn't he? That makes a lot of sense. So he did a great job, as far as I know. So, yeah. Again, these characters are loads of fun. If you haven't done anything like this, I highly recommend you doing this, because it kind of gives you a little bit of a different perspective of what it takes to draw stuff like this. It is not easy. I don't think these characters are really kind of easy. Challenging, but not difficult. I always like watching what I say, because, as the old adage says, you get what you say. And every single time I start a new character, or I start to do stuff like this, I want to make sure that I watch my words. And I don't want to say they're too hard or too easy, because it just takes practice, just like anything. And I've said this time and time again, the animators that work on this stuff, they get efficiencies, they get things that work for them. They're not workarounds, they're just, it's like riding a bike. You ride a bike, and then you get a real handle on what exactly it is, and then suddenly you're getting on a bike and you're doing sweet jumps. And yeah, of course, I don't think I'm going to be doing any sweet jumps anytime soon. I am not as young as I used to be, which means the invincibility factor is slightly depleted, because I was invincible when I was a kid. I don't know about you. I sure as heck was. Jumping off the house? Yeah, I can do that. Landing on my feet, doing a tuck and roll? Yeah, we can do that. Jumping out of a tree, falling out of a tree? Yeah. Let's build a ramp. Let's build a ramp that is completely unsafe and jump in the street with no helmet. Yeah. Let's do this. And that is kind of where Launchpad comes in. He is a fun-loving character that I can really get behind. Love Launchpad. Every time I do anything like this, if there's a theme song, I'm singing it in my head. Do, 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 do. These years, of course, being, I believe the original, you can fact check me on this, I believe the original DuckTales was 87, and the reboot was 2017. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Get my DuckTales history right. Okay, he's got this helmet. He's around. He actually kind of reminds me of Goofy. Some of the situations they put him in. Right? The no-win situations. Goofy. I recently did Goofy for you guys. And those sports, consistently in no-win situations that no character should be put in. But Goofy is. Yeah, and Goofy being put in those situations just... it basically makes for an amount of mayhem that is hilarious. If you haven't watched some of these cartoons recently, definitely recommend, if you are artistically inclined or not and just want some entertainment. Check them out. They're wonderful. launch pad. Okay. This corner inner part of the eye kind of starts the inner part of his mouth. That comes down, kind of goes this way. And then you have this curve right there. It's the inner part of his jawline. Then it goes up, and then it goes down in a nice swoop. And it goes back up. Like so. Okay. And his tongue. And of course he's got the butt chin, which is indicative of handsomeness. If you don't know, that is a tell. If you want your character to be uber handsome, give him a butt chin. What? I cannot stand smoothing on my pencil. That's probably where I'm like, what is going on? Smoothing, for those of you who don't know, it smooths your line out digitally. The only problem with that is it does it. That's the problem. It smooths your line out, and it gives you a false sense of accuracy when you draw. And so whenever you're doing stuff, you know, there's obviously a time for that, which is, in my opinion, never. Don't you ever smooth? I'm just kidding. You do whatever you want. And for me, I like feeling the line. I like feeling the stroke. So typically I don't use line smoothers. That's why when I looked up and I saw 10%, which is almost negligible, I don't like using them because I like feeling the accuracy of the device. Doing his awesome scarf. Boop. Because again, dressed like a pilot. Bum, 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 bum. Comes around because there's a fold. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom out. Let's correct this shape right here. Because he's got a barrel chest, because again, he's handsome. He's a handsome McQuack. You could almost call him Captain Handsome. That's what I call my dog. Captain Handsome. He's so handsome. That's what I say, and his little tail wags. And the way he's colored, his fur, it actually looks like he has a tuxedo. So he's so handsome. He's a part Whippet. Whippets are part greyhound. They're kind of like a miniature greyhound. But they are just so cute. Of course, I am partial because he's my dog. Actually, he's my kid's dog. We got them for the kiddos, but he is the family pet. And he is we got him as a rescue because we believe in rescues. It was funny, the day that we went to get him, you could tell he knew something was up. He's like, what is this? What is this? And I'm like, we're going to change your life today. And we did. He's so handsome. His name's Clay. We didn't change the name given by the Humane Society just because it was on all of his documentation. And I'm like, you know what? I like Clay. Clay's a good name. And plus he responded to it. So he was found in the woods up here in the Appalachian Mountains. And definitely had been abused in some way because he was so reactive when it came to certain elements, like certain diesel trucks. He doesn't like coats. He doesn't like hats. There are certain things that we've really kind of tried to alter to make him more comfortable. Now, obviously, as time progresses, he will improve, but we want to make sure that he has his best foot forward, and we don't want to be part of the problem. And yeah, in terms of correction, we usually put him in timeout, and he's been very friendly to the kids. No bites. I mean, playful stuff. He's definitely a playful dog. We just want to make sure and give him the best opportunity for success. Our last dog, unfortunately, was very aggressive, ended up biting my son in the face. So he had to go back to the Humane Society, and he had to kind of go into rehab because it was a no-kill shelter, and I believe he was adopted by a vet who had the opportunity to train him a little bit better, and that is something that I really appreciated, because I didn't want to see that dog be destroyed in any way. And a lot of times, biting is a reaction and learned behavior, and it comes out of fear. So I'm sure that dog that we had previously had been in a hard way, but Clay has been great. Now the other dog we had, I want to say 2012, so it had been 13 years since we had an animal. And the one previous to that actually passed away from food poisoning from Pedigree. There was a stint where Pedigree had some bad food, and unfortunately our dog couldn't process what they had sold us, and it shut his kidneys down and he died. And that was terrible. So then we waited a while, and then that other dog, his name was Milo, and that dog didn't work out. So then we were like, you know what, we're just going to wait. And we did. We waited 13 long years. And now Clay's with us. We love Clay. He's such a good man. He's such a good man. He's not a man, he's a dog. But he wears a tuxedo. And he's got 3 of his feet have white, look like white socks. Because I want to call him 3 Socks. What up, 3 Socks? It's so funny, he's got like 4 nicknames in addition to his name. So anyway, I am a dog person. I can't be a cat person because I'm allergic. Eventually I would like to get a cat, and people are like, you can take shots, you can do this. I don't want to take shots. I want to be able to live my life without shots. Yeah, I think this is a little bit too fat. We're going to do this. Here we go. Much better. Tails. Ooh. Yeah. So when checking all your like this is too big. There we go. Checking all your forms, checking things where they are, like this runs into this, and there's no problem in you drawing through. Here, like this comes around, comes up, attaches here, and then 2, you see how it's kind of like a count. This goes up, and this goes down, and this comes up, so you have kind of a dynamic pose, which I like. And weight. It's good to always reference your overall to kind of get a gauge. Now this is probably the newer version, because in the older version he had these pockets on his shoulders. So yeah, 2017 version. It's funny, the 2017 version is less complex than the 1987 version. Fun. Interesting. Nice. Okay. All right, MC. Launchpad. I'm going to give him a little bit of shadowing, just so we match what we did on Scrooge. MacDuck. Let's shadow him a little bit. Do some really quick shadowing. DuckTales, ooh. Yup, it's in my head, peeps. I don't know what else to do. DuckTales, ooh. Just some simple. A little bit of a cast shadow on the bottom. Call it a day. Maybe we need to give him some eyeshine like we gave Scrooge. Let's do that. Here we go. Launchpad. All right. I've already done Donald, so let's do one of the nephews. And finally, we're going to draw one of the nephews. So there are three nephews, nephew ducks, Huey, Dewey, and Louie in DuckTales. But we're going to go ahead, we're going to draw the classic versions from the 1987 early version of DuckTales, because the new ones are interesting. I looked at it and I'm like, you know, that's a little more simplified than I really want. So let's go ahead and do the version that I want, because after all, it's my drawing. Yup, mine. Yep, just drawing this morning, having some fun. Trying not to mess everything up, which I tend to do quite a bit in life. Sometimes I do try my best, and that's all you can do, right? We all have our hang-ups and stuff that we do, and do our best to, if you have kids, raise your kids in a way that is beneficial towards them and beneficial towards society. Obviously, or at least from my viewpoint, I don't want criminals, so I try to raise them in such a way that is positive and encouraging and correct when needed. That should be a title of a book. Correct when needed. And I always tell my kids, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be your dad. And your dad is quite a bit different than a, quote, friend. Friends have a limit to what they will tolerate with regards to behavior, and then they'll just leave you. Yeah, you've wronged me like 15 times, like 3 times. You've wronged me 3 times. You've talked mean to me 3 times. I'm done with you now. We're not friends anymore. And I always tell my children that love, in its truest form, has an unlimited amount of forgiveness. And of course they've tested that. And if there's a sincerity there, because they're learning, it's just like I'm learning to be a dad, they're learning to be kids and growing into adults. And I cannot expect them to be on the same level as I am, and I will show them the path, but it will be up to them to walk the path and be good, contributing citizens to society. It is up to them and choose that pathway. And ultimately, I've seen incredible things happen, good things. And I can remember my dad, he's 91. He's in the last days of his life. Currently, we are dealing with that. And he's had a full life. He raised kids, raised a family. He had a career, did incredible things. And now he's going to be leaving soon. And I had a long talk with him in reference to him as a dad. And that was, I told him I had the opportunity to tell my dad that he was a good dad, and because he had a lot of regrets. He felt like there's certain things that he didn't do right, which honestly, I've done a lot of things wrong, but my dad did a lot of things right, and I told him he did, and I made sure he knew that. And he's, like I said, in the last days of his life, and that is unfortunate to have to go through that, but it is part of getting older. You get into your 50s, you get into your late 40s or 40s, and your parents, they get older. And they've got stages of life that they go through as well. Grandparents, so on and so forth. And if they have the opportunity to reach 90, some people never even get to 90. Some people are gone in their 70s. But my dad, in his 90s. My dad did not draw. He was a mechanical genius. And that in and of itself speaks volumes to him as a person, his analytical mind, and his ability to create. He was a maker, an electrician by trade. He could pretty much fix anything. That's where I got my exuberance for learning. I got it from my dad. Because he said if it needs to be fixed, you can learn how to fix it yourself. You don't need to pay somebody else to fix it. Now, if you're incapable of doing that, then obviously that's your only avenue. He said, but you're making somebody else rich instead of keeping that money in your pocket. And that always stuck with me. That's why I fix my own cars. And that's why I try and fix my house if it goes awry. Now, obviously, things that I can't do unless I learn. Air conditioning. I do know how to fix the air in a car. But whenever it comes to house, that's a little bit of a different animal. There are things that you have to do. But I'm sure if I learned it, I could do it. And you have to have special equipment. That's, I think, the biggest mitigating factor for me is the equipment that you need to do certain things. I just don't own it. And, yeah. If somebody else can learn it, so can you. And I'm a big proponent of that. Again, we're working out his gesture. We need to go ahead and push this a little bit further back. And we're going to go ahead and flesh in the rest of him. Okay. Do this. Okay. Now the leg is hidden. Want that leg to be right there. Nothing wrong with putting a big shape in there to begin with, and then you can work out the semantics and the pose. This comes around and then it kind of fans out. Like so. I didn't mean to get heavy there, but it's important that you recognize, in my opinion, this is my opinion, you can take it or you can forget it. Take it or forget it. Your parents did not get a manual. A lot of them flew by wire and were given sometimes a lot less than you. And that's one of the things that I look at. I mean, my dad obviously had a career. He was an electrician, and he worked so hard to provide for his family. And one of the things that I really questioned growing up was his absence. Where's Dad today? Oh, he's working. Oh. And whenever I got older, I made it a point to try and get a job where I was around more. And at the time, based on the culture and the things that my dad did, he basically, I mean, he was gone for most of the day. We didn't see him till he got home. So he was kind of absent. And then later on, when I was a teenager, he had to leave to go and find work somewhere else. And I always resented him for that. Of course, me not understanding and being immature and not really wrapping my head around things until I became a dad later, and how I didn't see what my dad was doing. He was providing a life for my family, for our family. We had money, we had stuff, we had electricity, we had all those things, and that was at the expense of my dad being around all the time. Now, we did get him on the weekends, but we definitely had a challenge during the week. And my siblings, my brother and sister, took full advantage of that. Especially my sister. She took full advantage of that. My dad being gone, and because she was the firstborn, they came to blows, and she left really early. She left when she was 16 years old. And then my brother left when he was 18. And he came back for a stint and then ended up going to the police academy. My brother's a policeman, and he is a chief. He is the bomb. But we all have those moments and regrets, and I wanted to make sure and tell my dad that he was a good dad. He did a good job, even in and amongst the mistakes. So definitely, if you have the opportunity to do that, if your parents are still around, give them a little bit of real time. You'd be surprised, because my dad was old school, still is old school, born in 34. Basically, kids are supposed to be seen but not heard, so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and put that little crease in there. That's going to help anchor my other items here. That finger comes out. And then the rest comes here, and we can always just, look at that, just a little bit of a, I'm going to draw that right there. Get these fingers. Here's that finger crease again. Okay. Yeah. It's a little bit too big. And that's wrong. Get that right there. Round, round. Good, good. Let's go ahead and we'll shade him in really quick. And then we'll be wrapping up characters from DuckTales. Ooh. I don't know the rest of the words DuckTales. Woohoo! I'll look them up much later. DuckTales. Woo. That's all I know, DuckTales. Yeah. Oh, now you know the way my brain works. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and shade this in a skosh. Cast shadow. Cast shadow. Boom, 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 boom. Mm. Yeah. So much fun doing this. In the morning, in the evening. Drawing a day to keep them away. Ah, 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 ah. Tra-la-la. Yeah! Wrapping things up. Got to do a little bit of the eye shines on the eyeballs. Right about there and there. Anywho's. So I encourage you today, because today is Tuesday, go and do something fun today. If you gotta work, listen to a new song, listen to a podcast, do something you haven't done before. Right? You know what you should do? You should listen to the DuckTales theme song. It's in your head forever. MC. Oops. What is going on there? MC 26. Alright, you guys. Have an awesome day. Be good. See you next time. Bye.